Hello, Mama. Wasn't sure what I was going to talk about this week, but I figured out a topic. And it was actually something that Cass from Clutterbrug brought up. She was discussing the different types of clutter that you'd experience in life. Um, I'm notorious for lazy clutter. I'm very lazy. I will stack everything up and then deal with it. And then my hubby told me that I should never handle something twice. He should practice what he preaches. But there's a whole bunch of different things that go into why he handles things multiple times. It actually has nothing to do with laziness. It actually has to do with a different part of a different type of clutter that Cass explores, which is identity clutter. And this I found to be a deep psychological topic and something that I am very familiar with that I didn't realize, which is identity clutter is basically stuff that you keep around because it helps you think of who you were. It's not necessarily who you are now, but it reminds you of who you were because for some reason, if you got rid of that clutter, you lose yourself. But the question is, if that's who you were and it's not who you are, you're not losing anything if you got rid of it because it's not who you are now. But this is a hard thing, is being able to disassociate from your past. Let go of your past and move on to the future. And I made a comment on that video specifically talking about military, especially combat veterans, are the worst. Not bad people, but are the worst with this type of clutter. I am engaged to a combat veteran, and he was in the military so long. It was his sole identity. It's what he always thought about. And this is something that if you're considering hooking up, getting together with a military person, there's going to be a lot of stuff that you yourself are going to have to deal with. Not just oddball habits or things that you won't understand, or there'll be just things that they don't want to talk to you about that you don't necessarily have to, but you will want them to eventually open up to you about. Obviously there's some stuff they can't talk about, but there's other stuff that if they can talk about without judgment, they want to be able to do that, because if they can't, they just feel so alone and isolated. And this is actually one of the biggest fallbacks of the military that we have, is there's no aftercare. If you think about it, they build up this person. You are a soldier. This is your life, your identity. This is your everything. That's how they build them up. That's all they are. After they're done being the soldier, contracts up, they decide to retire, what have you, and must join the civilian world 100%, it is severely psychologically damaging if they have no support. And by support, I mean you are literally holding their hand and teaching them and walking them through how to be a civilian, how to disassociate from their soldier life and re-identify themselves. This is going to sound so weird, but the easiest way is to have kids with them. The biggest identity change they can get is go from being a soldier to being a father or mother. And the reason why that is because it's still that element of, I have something I need to protect and hold close, so it has parts of the soldier life, but it is not the soldier life. And one of the hardest things is they also think of that time as their glory days, their heydays, and now they're gone. So there's a lot of psychological stuff to work through with if you get a military spouse. One of the identity clutter is actually really, really hard. So what I've been working on with my hubby for the past like week and a half, because he finally is like, I need to get rid of the stuff in my environment. That's one of the things me and my therapist talked about, is like my immediate environment, not just, the horrible relationships I have with the people around me, like the pettiness and arguing, but also just like my actual environment. I mean, look at my hubby's dresser, like it reflects what's going on the inside. So, but the thing is, this is something you can take care of. Is if you can clear this off, you've proven to yourself you can start clearing this up. But one of the hardest things my hubby has is he can sort things into piles, but he has a hard time making decisions on those piles. The decision we made with all his military stuff, just to make it easier and just to clear up a lot of space, I said, okay, we have a U.S. Army bag. It says U.S. Army on it. It's got a nice, beautiful embroidered emblem. Take all of your Army stuff, every military bag, every uniform, everything, put it into this bag. So if at any point you feel like it's doomsday or the end of the world, you can grab that bag and everything's there. We don't have to get rid of it because it actually is stuff of good quality. It's old. It has sentiment. I also spent ridiculous amount on those uniforms. But anyways, so I'm like, we won't get rid of it. Like, throw it away or donate until such time as you're ready to. But for now, just to get it out of our immediate space, a space that's designed for us to relax and sleep in. It's got to be calmer physically so we can be calmer mentally. Let's just shove all that shit in a bag. We know where it's going to be. We're going to put it in a safe place in the garage. We know where it's going to be. If anytime you need to access it, you can access it. So it's out of sight, out of mind, but he doesn't have that anxiety of not having when he's going to need it, which he may never fucking need it. Ooh, language. He may never need it in the future at all, ever. But it's that security blanket feeling. He has it if he needs it. But I've also been working with him on certain items that I know he should get rid of for whatever reason. A Final Fantasy game tip book I finally got him to throw out. Because the thing is I got him to realize that if he throws this book out, he was afraid that if he threw this out, he was giving me all sorts of logical excuses to keep it, and I gave him every logical reasoning to get rid of it, countering all those excuses. So he ran out of excuses, and I finally asked him, and this is a good question to ask anybody who's having a hard time getting rid of clutter, is what are you actually afraid of losing if you got rid of this item? And so finally, I asked him that, and he's like, I'm not sure, but there was an anxiety with getting rid of this item. I was like, do you feel like if you got rid of this item, you would lose the love of the game? And that rang in his head really loud. He's like, yes. So finding out the deeper psychological reasons why we hang on to stuff and identity clutter and things like that is maybe you just ingrained so much memory into this thing that you're afraid if you lose it, you lose all those memories. That's not what happens. The memories are up here and here. You're not going to lose it if you get rid of the thing. So that was a hard thing for him to grasp. And the other thing is I asked him, why does he feel the need to keep all his tools and everything in our van? It's not a workshop, it's a van. It's to haul people and stuff. So we can't use it for what it's for if he has all his tools and shit in it. Why are you keeping it in the bedroom? Why are you keeping all the basically stuff that doesn't need to be in this particular room? Why does it have to be in this room within your line of sight? And we figured out why. I'm like, are you afraid that if you actually pack something up and put it away, that it's going to be lost somehow? Because let's recap. You pack stuff away because you're going into the army. Your parents got rid of it because they thought it was unimportant. You've packed things away and put them away, and then you had a house fire, so it got destroyed. And then, of course, you got stuff again. And then you pack stuff away and you put it away. And then you had a flood in your mother's house. More stuff got destroyed and ruined. So, sorry, hubby walked in. I didn't want him to hear me talk about him. Anywho, he ultimately doesn't care. He knows he's a psychological case study for me. I'm not huge into psychology. It does interest me, and I like trying to figure out why people do certain things. Anywho, so he has a fear of loss if something's packed away. And I said, okay, but that was somewhere else amongst other people. This is a place where we don't touch other people's stuff. It's not our stuff. It's not our responsibility. We're not going to touch it. Okay, so we have to work on eliminating that fear that if you pack your stuff away, and let's say all of his army wool blankets, we're going to put them in a tote all together, put them with our camping gear, because that's the best time to use it is for camping. Wool blankets, oh, amazing, water resistant, all that, very warm. It's just too sketchy for me, but I will use it camping because they are warm. But anywho, so put them in the garage, and I want you to only touch that bin when you have to access those blankets, and at no other time. So the first test is he actually has to pack them away, and he wants to do it, but I can tell every day there's a hesitation, there's an excuse to not do it. You know, he tries to logically come up with excuses. I'm like, honey, these are just excuses. You know what you have to do. You have to make final decisions. You just don't want to deal with the negative emotions associated with that. So, unfortunately, this is something everybody has to do when they're dealing with decluttering stuff, their mental health, is that we don't like negative emotions, but unless you deal with them and face them head on, your life is not going to get better. You have to deal with the bad stuff in order to get the good stuff, in order to enjoy the good stuff, in order to appreciate the good stuff. You have to deal with the bad stuff. And this is, a moment where I'm like, don't be hypocritical, practice what I preach. And that's part of the reason why I'm trying to do this 40-day challenge. It's just a mental reward system for me to declutter my own crap. So I'm doing my stuff. I'm helping him with his. And because he comes up with excuses like, oh, well, can you shred them for me? I'm like, no, I will not shred your horrible memories for you. You have to shred them. You have to put them in the shredder. Those are not my memories. They're not my responsibility. But more important, the physical act of shredding your bad memories actually does give you quite a relief. You finally put the nail in the coffin and you've put it to rest, both in a physical action, and it helps make it a mental action. One of my mom's favorite things to recommend to get rid of like negative energies around you, it's very much a superstitious thing, mind over matter, but she says write down all the things that are bothering you, that are negative in your life, write it on a piece of paper, and then burn it. You could also do it with wishes, expose it to the universe, let it go. But that act of burning those negative things in your life does actually feel like you're dealing with them on a certain level. And then the next step is actually dealing with the stuff that's associated with it and getting it done. But destroying, the actual physical act of destroying is actually quite relieving. That's why sometimes when we declutter, just throwing stuff out feels so relieving. So that's my talk for today. I'm going to see if I can edit this video down. It's too long. But thank you for listening. Bye.